And we're live. Welcome to Earful of Dirt, the Major League Rugby podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Corey Munson, coming to you live from Iowa, joined as always by Aaron Castro in Arizona and Liam Madigan-Fried in Houston, Texas. Josh Fredland is back behind the camera over on moderator duty, so be sure to hit him up in the comments section and with your thoughts and questions throughout the show. So how's it been going, guys? How was your week?
Well, do you really want to know? I am successfully moved across, well, not really across town, but from Mesa to Tempe. I am in the new studio. That's good to go. Been eating like crap. Oh, and there was that's pretty much it. And then I spent, all weekend scouting MLR players.
Well, my life at this point just kind of revolves around going back and forth from the SaberCat office as well as to Houston Sports Park for practice, and that's pretty much where I'm at right now. Yeah, I also eat like crap too, so I'm right there with you, Aaron.
Well, and since we're sticking with themes of doing things we keep doing, I guess I'll just complain about the weather. We got another 8 inches of snow yesterday, and we're looking at 6 more inches tomorrow. So I'm kind of over the Northland right now. Aaron, I might, if you got a spare room, I might have to come down and visit you for a few months.
No.
Didn't you just say you live in a studio?
No, this is the studio.
Oh, it's the studio. It's like
I've got like an air.
Okay, Rappaport.
in this bedroom.
Is Bucky Brooks in the next room?
We're a short-term rugby house for if you want to come by. I mean, we've got all the best bourbons from Kentucky in the pantry. If you enjoyed an adult beverage. So, however, man. Talk about, so I'm a connoisseur, right? I'm not really a drinker. I'm more of a connoisseur. I just collect bottles and just like open them, have a few drinks, and put them back. I don't know. I'm not a heavy drinker, and I like good tasting bourbons and some other liquors, of course. But so when it comes to choices, I just collect things. So there are a lot of choices. If you want to make an old-fashioned, I've got about 6 different good old-fashioned bourbons, and then like 3 that are like perfect to either sit by themselves or have like a Jack or have like bourbon and Coke. I don't drink Jack. Jack Daniels is like Jack Daniels and Bud Light are 2 things that remind me of college, and I don't drink them. But yeah, so when like I unboxed that and like put it away, I was like, dang, wow, there's too many of this. But, as good rugby people, we all enjoy our fine Highland spirits and lowland spirits and all that fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of take that as a personal attack, man. I have a bottle of Jack Daniels out in my kitchen right now. I don't have a lot of money.
Well, you could just get Jim Beam White and call it straight.
No. As any of my rugby teammates will tell you, I'm not allowed to drink Jim Beam anymore. Especially Black Label, man.
So for those of you new to the podcast, we do this every Monday night. We sit around, we talk about whiskeys and also rugby once in a while.
Yeah.
Going through news, rumors, all things about Major League Rugby, the United States Professional Rugby Union. It's a chance for us to look at the issues, to hear from the league, players, and team leadership, and to check in with our friends from across the U.S. rugby scene. With all of that said as an introduction, Aaron, what are we going to be talking about this week?
Well, New York takes down the leaders. San Diego continues their rise. The Raptors put it together against Austin and Seattle. Defend Starfire at the Shootout in Tukwilla.
Sounds like an exciting week behind us. Yeah, so if you guys are ready, I think we'll just jump right in here. We've got, New York, RUNY was able to dethrone, at least for one game, New Orleans. So
the gumbo went sour. Mm-hmm.
The gumbo went sour, but they are still leading the pack, by the way. So that's pretty exciting. So Norland Gold streak was finally broken by RUNY. New York really seems to like they're gelling as a team, I think. We all thought that they kind of what we thought they could be ahead of the season. So Nolan remains at the top of the standings, like I mentioned, and managed to still collect a couple points in spite of the loss, putting them at 17, which is still 5 points ahead of their closest rival, which is San Diego. It's also should mention that there was some technical problems during the broadcast. It did cut off for maybe the last, about 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes of the game?
15 minutes, just the important stuff.
Yeah, no big deal. Just the very end.
RUNY's comeback, them actually winning the freaking game.
I'll cover that. People need to put their knives away. So,
well, that's a good place to segue. Aaron, tell us what you saw at that game.
So, so the last 15 minutes are now available on ESPN Plus. The game was rebroadcast, at least on SNY, for the New York viewer on Sunday in full. So what happened there was some people were mad, saying that they were thinking the broadcast truck and generators, like power went down on site. No, it did not, because if it had, they would have lost everything. But all their stuff was good to go on site. What happened, the reason why there was like that break-in coverage early on is the CS Cox Sports Television's hub in New Orleans lost power. Their generator kicked on, and then the reason why it cut out was power didn't come back on, but they ran out of fuel. So they had an outage for a long time. So the game will be all uploaded to YouTube, of course, within MLR protocol, usually sometime the week after. So either tomorrow or Wednesday, probably latest Thursday, you'll be able to watch the whole game in full on YouTube. But as I said, the game has been uploaded to ESPN Plus, so you can get your last 15 minutes for ESPN Plus subscribers, or if you're an SNY person in New York. I don't really know how you guys do your thing, but it's up. But getting to the game, when you look at this game, we all picked NOLA to go forward and reign at 4-0. They definitely had their chances. Corey, you mentioned New York being who we thought they were. I disagree. And here's why. New York remains a deeply flawed team. You saw that up front in the scrum. Loose head, Mr. Rocheford, both their starting props on the day were having some issues against NOLA's props. Granted, I will point out in the stat sheet they didn't lose any of their scrums against New Orleans, but they were having issues. They ended up conceding a lot of penalties early on in the match at the scrum. So that is going to need to be addressed, especially as they make a run towards the title. If you look at, they've already played one of the best scrummaging teams in the league in San Diego. I think when they play San Diego again, they're going to need to get that worked out. Or when they play the SaberCats, they're going to need to get that worked out. Well, however, the thing that's different for New York is that backline is as good as we thought it was going to be. Cahal Marsh, first run out against San Diego, I was like, who is this guy? But, oh my, Cahal Marsh is a bad man. He's a bad man. I think he scored 15 points on his own, had a try assist to Connor Wallace-Sims. So he was a part of 20 of their points. That's pretty insane right there. When it comes to New Orleans, Holden, don't show up late again, okay? Because the next thing is going to be is your chops. Cut that hair off. Come on, man. So everyone who wants to know, apparently dyeing your hair or the tips or whatever is a very popular find amongst MLR teams. A lot of teams have team rules. Homie was late to practice. If you've noticed on Seattle, those guys are late to practice a lot too. You know? Well, I guess that's one thing. Dyeing your hair beats running gassers. Just too many mistakes for New Orleans. They conceded like 10 penalties down the stretch to end the game that killed any of their momentum when they were trying to retake the lead. Yet the reason they lost this is because, well, they couldn't kick. JP couldn't kick for Cracker Jacks. Then Scott Gale replaced him to kick for Sticks. He couldn't kick. One of the great things in this game is Tony Lamborn. 2 tries. Fresh, rehab from injury that he suffered against Romania in November. And that man just brings it. He might even make the ARC if he's fit enough.
Hell yeah. So from my end, I was just going to say it was a shame that NOLA wasn't able to come out on top in this one, especially because they returned some really good players from the ARC. Like Aaron was saying, they definitely had their chances to come out on top and to get the win, but unfortunately, like Aaron said, they kind of got in their own way. However, one factor you got to consider is that RUNY has had a ton of rest. This is only their second game in 4 weeks now in Major League Rugby, if I'm correct. And that may very well explain how NOLA seemingly just kind of fell off in the second half, and RUNY looked like they were able to just keep on going, keep their engines running, getting people like Lamborn and Cathal Marsh involved. RUNY's Paddy Ryan and Connor Wallace-Sims, though, are 2 people that I'm really excited about. You kind of have 2 really wild physical presences on both the inside and the outside. Wallace-Sims in particular is somebody I love watching. He's a constant threat.
Paddy Ryan didn't play, dog.
What? Oh no, but just in general of having like people like on the roster. But like like what I'm saying though, Connor Wallace-Sims on the outside is a total threat, like of the majority of the time, and people have to account for him. And I think that's one of the things that makes defenses kind of spread out when they're playing RUNY is they have so many playmakers on the outside that can just tear you up at a moment's notice.
Fair points. And Aaron, Josh, thanks for that correction coming in from the back end. So the next game of the weekend was Legion facing off against the Utah Warriors. And this one, San Diego came out on top, 21-10. And honestly, I'm not going to lie about this one, guys. I spent the first half of the game just trying to figure out who was wearing red and who was wearing black on the field. The uniforms, like we've talked about before, when there's similar color schemes already, it can be a little bit confusing. But that as an aside, for me, I didn't feel like, even though the score was close, it was not close. I'm sorry, I had 21-19 written down. Aaron's telling me it is 21-10 was the final score.
That is
Jaman.
correct.
They missed out on that bonus point.
We are in rare form on this Monday night. I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
fact checking needs to go before the show, not after it. Okay. Legion won 21-10. For me, it never really felt like the Warriors were able to get onto their front foot. It just it was Legion pretty much the whole time. They felt like they were in control of the game, and I don't know. That's kind of what I thought. Liam, what are your feelings?
Well, I thought that Utah made like a stronger impression than people may have thought. Like to begin the game, I thought they started to move the ball well, and they seemed really efficient. But then they just kind of disappeared. It was 18-3 by the end of the half. So this game was never really close. Even though it was by no means a blowout, definitely not. But it was definitely never I guess a volley of lead changes that would people would expect with something called a good rugby game. Utah just weren't really efficient with moving the ball. There was a lot of lateral movement. We saw a lot of that in terms of the teams that lost this week. A lot of lateral movement that ate up the clock, but didn't really produce a lot of results or meters per pass. Although Legion is looking, they're looking like a well-oiled machine right now. Devin Short obviously had himself a game, resulting in man of the match honors. JP Duplessis. Am I sorry? I know I asked about
Duplessis.
JP Duplessis. Both of them, they were able to score as a result of really good line speed, getting the ball to the outside, and they were able to get ahead of Utah's defensive shift. Utah has some really good tacklers on that team, but obviously the Legion able to take advantage of the gaps when they were able to create them.
I mean, you look at this overall game, it's pretty even, to be honest. Yeah, both teams had 84 hit-ups. Meters gained, only a difference and in the favor of Utah Warriors in difference of 13. The real difference for both teams is the differential in meters made from kicks and gain line percentage. The Utah only made the gain line 63%, San Diego 81%, and it was all about efficiency. They made about the same amount of tackles. The rucks, quick ball, same amount of rucks, you know. But what was the difference is scrummaging. Even though San Diego, didn't go 100% on their lineouts. San Diego stole 30% of either one on penalty or took 30% of Utah's scrums. Like that,
especially in the modern scrummaging era, where nobody rolls the ball down the middle.
That's really hard to do.
Yeah,
30%. You can get 15. You can get 15% pretty easy in a game. We're seeing that at the premiership level, at test level, 15% you can steal. But whether it's through penalty or just taking that ball away, so there's a lot to it. Joe Peterson continues to be Joe Peterson. Devin Short, man. He's size-wise, skill-wise, he's probably more of a blind side, but he's still 20 years old. What? He's going to turn 21 here pretty soon, and he's just going to be that. He's the young, I would say, one of the few prodigious players coming up through the system where he's probably going to play 4 years of professional rugby before he really gets his chance to play on the Eagles. And he's going to be a very well-developed player when he gets to the Eagles. He's already been, U20s. I think he made the APC as well. This is that one guy that you just want to watch at the open side position for a while. And he's doesn't have a bad look to him, as for the ladies down San Diego, you know what I'm saying? But really, you dig in on this game, Patty Ryan. He has to be him, and I would talk about Tristan Blewett, but Patty Ryan has to be the top addition from overseas this year. He's the scrum whisperer. He's out-scrummed every loose head that he's gone against so far in 4 matches. Temple. One of the things I'm loving in this side and really in MLR is the wide-open creative styles of rugby that, the fly halves are being asked to play. Outside backs to use their skills. Even when it was a rainstorm against Seattle, you saw SD trying to do stuff out wide and push the ball and push the tempo. I talk about our lock depth. If there's one guy who's retired from the 2015 Rugby World Cup squad that is fit and capable to play a position of need, it's going to be Lou Stanfill, provided his wife lets him raise his hand. There was some really good play from Utah. Lance Williams early on in the first half played pretty well. What I would do if I were Utah, though, is flip Tim O'Malley to outside center and put Jeremy the Missile Misalegalu at inside center to give you that bowling ball right off the 10, much like Polasike is. Again, he's not Polasike. He doesn't give you what Polasike can do as a distributor and as a kicker. But he gives you about 70% as far as the physicality, the tough carrying, that sort of, extra loose forward, but that is a midfielder. That's that's what Jeremy is. Or you can put him on the wing, have him play 11, and just run people over. Yeah, you can do that. And then put Fetu Vanikolo in an outside center to do that extra distributor role.
Well.
So yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Liam. What were you going to say, friend?
No. I was going to say just on to the Raptors, man.
We are not on our A game, but we'll get there. We'll get there yet. Don't worry.
Tonight, man.
Okay, third game of the weekend. Raptors facing off against Austin Elite in Texas. So I think we can kind of predict what happened. Austin continued their winless ways, and Raptors were able to finally score a win for themselves. So yeah, this brings the Raptors up to 1-2 on the season, while it drops Austin to 0-4. Final score is 24-13. And I'm not willing to say the Raptors looked very confident, but it was certainly enough to get past AER. Aaron, what'd you see down there?
Josh asked over the weekend about celebrating old man tries. Well, Glendale had 2. Peter Dahl at open side flanker and Ata Malifa at fly half. You had the old men getting after it. So we're going to celebrate old man tries. All right.
As an old man, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I said Glendale would put it together. Just really wondered when. If you watched their first 2 games, you knew what they were trying to play. Trying to play attacking rugby much better than they have been. I mean, in season 1, they could attack, but their system was very rigid. And what they're doing now requires, Will McGee and now Autumn Malifa and, their backs to just be a lot more dynamic because they're trying to dictate the tempo and just, I guess, do what everyone else is doing and score a lot of tries. I've also said that, Austin is going to put it together. I think they will. I don't know when. It's probably the back half of the season. They're probably going to win 4 or 5 games, maybe 6, and they're going to spoil some people's lunch, and it'll be funny. But they're just – these 2 programs are in different places in their development, and Glendale has plugged the right holes with the right guys. Autumn Malifa being their starter at 10 rather than Mickey Bateman from last year when Will McGee was off is – it really is a difference, even though Mickey Bateman and Jake Chrisman, when those 2 young guys last year had to both start together, they won a game at San Diego. They beat Seattle pretty bad at home, So yeah, the young guys again are making it known what they're doing. Obviously, Jake Chrisman has moved on to Utah. Mickey Bateman was on the bench for Glendale this game, but Carlo Denisian, he was he's a scrum half, started over Sean Davies the last 2 games, not over Sean Davies, but for Sean Davies, since Sean Davies with the USA Eagles right now. He was in the Glendale Under 20 Academy last year. We didn't see him at all. And what does he do in this game? Scores a try. I think it was a try assist. Kicked for sticks twice. He only went 50%, but that kid can play. Like when you're talking about a young scrum half coming into the shoes of, the knock-on starter of the national team, that says a lot. Good for him. Dylan Tykado Simpson, one of the in-form fullbacks in the league, and he's got things. He does things. He was in the right place. Ball was fed to him by Carlo off a scrum. He was on the wing with a great support line being run by Harley Davidson. Perfect offload for a try. he was where he needed to be. When it comes to Austin, scrummaging going okay, but there's just they really, people talk about the hinge connection. I would say the connection throughout the attack isn't there. Defensively, they're okay, but they just can't. They're going to have to score first, and it's going to have to be a try with a good conversion and just hold on to it, because they're really not going to be able to outscore anyone right now with the disconnect. And there's going to be some more disconnects in camp as guys come in and out for the ARC. They really won't be settled down till probably April. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, as some MLR fans who are as hardcore as us here on the show may have noticed, is that there was only an hour difference separating the beginning of the Austin game and the Toronto game. So I watched the first half of the Glendale Austin game until I switched to Toronto versus Seattle. But from what I saw in the first half, though, Austin continues to display their talent on the outside as well as in the scrum, but there's just never any kind of consistency in which they can actually put an opponent away. And Glendale is a team that, week in and week out sees problems with discipline, especially in the breakdown, and they give their opponents these chances to score points and these chances to win, which is a big reason why they started out at 0-2. So honestly, I think Austin, they're kind of showing us, more and more that it's not flukes that they're losing these games. They're losing these games for themselves because they're not taking advantage. They're not taking advantage of the opportunities that are always there presented to them, because they've had these opportunities to win these games week in and week out, as opposed to teams like, I don't know, like the Warriors this week, where they were never really truly in the game. Austin needs to learn how to finish games. Unfortunately, it was not really the case this week. Glendale was hungry for a win. They were going to take advantage of a bottom of the barrel team. Like Aaron said, there was definitely some great old man tries. I'm really impressed, however, with the young guy, Mika Cruze, who the big knock on him last year was just his game is still very raw. To a degree, that's still true this season, but I see him playing a lot more stable of a game, finding himself in position to actually make an impact. So I think Glendale has a really, really bright future as long as Cruze stays within the United States and with the Glendale Raptors.
He had a great game. He cleaned up his handling. He didn't really have any issues when it came to the ball. He was a very physical runner. Did he get stronger in the last 2 weeks?
Looks like it, man.
Pardon me. Earlier on, I talked about Bateman starting at 10 for Glendale last season. No, he was a backup last season. That was Maximo de Acheval, who stepped in at 10 for Will McGee. So there you go. Moving on to the last one.
Yeah. So for the last game of the weekend, we were up in Seattle for Seattle versus Toronto. And I guess if the weekend had to come to an end, this is a hell of a way to go out. It was definitely, in my opinion, it was the best game of the weekend. It was a very lively match, a lot of action, a lot of scoring. And it was also a very Canadian affair. There was a lot of guys from up north came down for this one. Ultimately, Seattle did prevail at home, 35-30. But honestly, victory was not assured until right to the end of the game. So, Liam, lead us off. What did you see?
So when you say a really Canadian game, I just got this image of guys hitting each other, and every time they do this, sorry there, guy, sorry. But if you meant
so like Canadians are very polite, Islanders are very polite. I mean, they'll literally lay you out, and then they'll, like, after they stomp on you, they'll pick you up and say, "Hey, I'm sorry about that, mate. Sorry."
Yeah. So anyway, this was the game that I edited for Fitzy's film study today. The first thing I noticed is that Toronto is much more productive when they're running up the middle. They have some really talented forwards in that pack. Gannon Moore, unfortunately, was kind of kept I don't want to say he was kept down, because he definitely had a few good carries, but he definitely wasn't the kind of impact that we saw the week before when they got their first when they got the win. Honestly, there just wasn't a lot of productivity to the outside. I felt like there was a lot of lateral passing, and a lot of their big territory gains were the result of some lucky kick chases. When the second half came around, though, what I really noticed is that those kick chases that had good results in the first half, we're starting to see some more adverse results in the second half. They had kicks going into touch. They had some lineouts stolen. They just stopped. Like I said, they just stopped being efficient in the second half, and they ate up more clock than they actually gained meters. So, and that's just a recipe for disaster every single time.
Wait. Did you just talk about Gannon Moore playing for Toronto?
What? Yeah, Moore for Toronto?
Yeah, not Gannon Moore, Dan Moore.
Dude, I'm sorry, man. It is I'm exhausted today, man.
You're lucky they play. You're lucky they play the same position. At least one of them's not a hooker.
We're all effed up with names tonight, man.
Dan Moore played well for.
They contained Dan Moore to a much greater degree than he was last week, and that definitely was evident. But he definitely had a few good carries, particularly on an inside pass from Toronto. He was able to get, I think, a good 8 to 10 meter gain. But outside of that one instance, I really didn't see a whole lot from Moore.
If you really look at, Toronto's lineup, like the guys who for them that are supposed to be the dynamic players, Dan Moore was contained. Spencer Jones was contained. Sean Windsor was contained. Avery Oitomen was contained. Giuseppe Dutot had a really good game for them. But outside of what their forwards were able to do in the first half and really sort of push the tempo, fitness. I don't know what the deal is, but people were saying they were unfit. I don't know if they were unfit. I really don't know. But the guys on the back half of the roster, like the 8 guy, the subs, they didn't have it. When both of the starting props came off the field for Toronto, things changed differently. I would say the better scrummagers were when both front rows were fully changed. Or Seattle, Kellen Gordon and Mike Shepard and John Hayden. They just out-scrummed Stephen Wynn, Douglas Woodridge, and Cole Keith. They just did. And you're talking like Canadian international people, like these. I'm pretty sure Cole Keith has a cap. Pretty sure. But there was just a massive difference. And then when it came to what guys were able to do, Colby Francis had a really good game, scored a try for number 8 for Toronto. And, as Liam said, a lot of their good gains was running through the middle. And when they went laterally, they really couldn't get it done. And they wasted a lot of time in the second half. Right when you thought they were going to push the tempo after, Sam Malcolm put up those 2 penalties following Andrew Ferguson's try. L.A., where did Ben Sema come from? Because he had some really bad play in the first half. But in the last 30 minutes, Ben Sema played like we've seen him play rugby at the test level and what he should be playing like. I said, if Ben Sema plays like that, he would be in contention for Eagles fullback right now. Seattle stepped on the Arrows' throat in the last 20 minutes. Shalom Suni Ula at the end of the third quarter scored a try off a sweet Brad Tucker assist. And then Sema, gets the ball at the right time. And, I think I mentioned last week that it seems that all of his friends from all those years in age grade rugby, now that they're playing professional rugby against him, were just, I wouldn't say targeting him, but just showing their frustration at Ben. And I think but the difference is he started to like, I wouldn't say he started to realize this, but he started to play like he knew that this is just gonna happen, and he needed to lay the wood, back, and he did that, right? And then, so they score a try, and then Brock Stoller kicks 2 penalties in the final quarter at 72 minutes and 78 minutes. It's kind of over. Man of the match. We didn't really talk about man of the match, but Eric Duchel. Bro, keep getting it done. Dude, wow. Like, rapid development, like how much time is spent between coaches and players that have high technical knowledge. Eric Duchel has developed more in the last year than he did the entire time he was an Eagle Sevens camp player. And, when he was in the Air Force high performance program. So, great game from him.
All right. So, as always, we like to go through and kind of see how we lined up with our predictions with what actually happened. So, if you guys are good with it, I'll just kind of bust through this list here.
Go right on ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, so last week we said, this week, the RUNY beat NOLA 27-24. Aaron predicted NOLA by 8. Liam predicted NOLA by 2, and I predicted NOLA by 10. So we were all wrong on that one.
Shame on all of us.
Well, us and I think in the pool I'm in, only American RFC, Craig Gradelli, who also writes for the Runner Sports, was the only person that I know to pick. No, wait. No, he picked New Orleans. Never mind. Suck it.
The second match, Utah versus San Diego. The score was 10-21. San Diego winning. Aaron, you had San Diego by 5. Liam, you had San Diego by 3, and I had San Diego by 13.
Fuck you, Corey. Oh, sorry, man.
Oh, hey. Good for you. Good for you, sweet child.
Good, yeah.
Good for you.
That might be the first one I've actually gotten right this year. Maybe.
Is it really?
It's been a rough year for me. Rough season so far. Not gonna lie.
I mean, I only said F you because you were the closest to the actual spread, but you were still 2 points off. So
I was. I'm gonna take it as a win though. All right, we've got for Glendale versus Austin. The final score was Glendale 24, Austin 13. Aaron, you had Glendale by 2. Liam had him by 8, and
pick.
I put down 13 for that one as well. So, yeah. Liam, you're the closest without going over on that one.
Mm-hmm. What's it called? What's that show called? Wheel of Fortune rules. There you go.
Yeah, Price is Right.
Price is Right. Yeah, I don't know.
We're just going to keep correcting you all damn night.
Dude, the only times I ever watched those shows when I was like homesick from school, so I was like half fever dreaming during every single episode. So what do you want from me?
And then the final game, Toronto at Seattle, which turned out to be 35-30 for Seattle. Aaron, you're the one that called that one. You had Seattle by 3. Liam, you had Toronto by 4. I had Toronto by 2. So yeah,
so
good work.
We're all terrible. We're all even, I guess.
It's 3-1 across the dealio, I think. No, you are 2-2.
All right.
So, Aaron, tell us about the standings, where we're at right now.
All right, so I guess we talked about win percentage a couple weeks ago on the Reddit board. I was like, well, win percentage, I don't think the person stated what they meant, because win percentage, that's how people get judged in this country. Now, point differential, that leads to bonus points. Well, everyone has pride, so unless you're in the NBA, in the NFL, people are freaking trying. It's really hard to tank in the NFL. You got 53 guys on the roster that, the bottom 10 guys, they're playing for a job. They're playing to keep their job. So there's going to be a lot of pride. Whereas in the NBA, basketball's still a sport where one transcendent athlete can shift your entire fortune as a team. So, that is what it is. But point differential really matters here because it gets you some extra points, which matter in playoff seeding. So NOLA is 3-1, so is San Diego, but they are clear ahead with 17 total points in the table from San Diego. San Diego's at 13 points. Second, Seattle moves up to third, although they are 2-2. They've got 11 points. New York, with their win, only moves up to fourth with 8 points on the table, but they are like a game and a half back of both New Orleans and San Diego. Glendale jumps up again to fifth with 7 points. Toronto slides down to sixth, really, but really tied with Glendale at 7 points as well. And then Houston has 5 points at seventh, and Utah 4 points from their victory against Austin when in round 2 or week 2 of the season. And then Austin is, they're adrift.
Dos.
So,
Dos
it's one interesting number I'm looking at here on the chart, though, is the fact that New York's played 2 games so far, compared to the 1, 2, and 3 spot, which have all played 4 games. And so the points they are capable of collecting, New York is capable of collecting, is substantially lower than the other 3 ahead of them as well. So you got to wonder, as bye weeks come on for the other teams, what that's going to do for RUNY. They could see their fortunes looking better very quickly.
Yeah, someone mentioned, you've got to be just pissed off that your total point differential for Austin is just 24 total points across 4 fixtures. So you're losing, on average, you're losing your game by 6 points. Obviously, the game against the Raptors kind of skewed the average, but they've, they're there, right? Sort of how we talked about Houston last season being there. Because their point differential, I think, was the average was 4.5 or 5 points for every fixture for, continue.
So
right,
hold on. I was just going to say, a question I want to pose to you guys, though, is who out of the top 4 do you see most likely to fall out of the playoffs, and who in the who in the bottom 5 do you see as the most likely to get back into the playoff contention?
I think right now, based on 4 weeks worth of fixtures, it's gotta be Glendale and Seattle swapping spots. Because, Glendale can score a lot better. Their offense doesn't have to chase people. Whereas Seattle against both NOLA and San Diego, they just had to chase them. And yeah, they had to chase Toronto this week, but they didn't go down 2 scores to Toronto. They answered pretty quickly, and they were at home. So those would be the ones that I would say that would flip. What do you got?
So, I mean, I'm looking at the bottom 5 right now, and my gut feeling is telling me that, and obviously this may be half a little biased, but Glendale and Houston are kind of the most likely, in my opinion, to make the jump into the top 4. Glendale, like you said, they can score. They have a lot of playmakers in both the pack and on the back line. The only thing that I'm concerned about with Glendale is they have the tendency to shoot themselves in the foot with penalties, and a lot of the teams in Major League Rugby right now, it's not like last year where Glendale, was for most of the season the far and away the better team. There's, especially teams like New Orleans and San Diego are going to be able to take advantage of those mistakes.
Well, that's what you look at. You look at both Seattle and Glendale this season. They're both, their penalty count is really high, both teams. So
yeah, so yeah. I would agree with you that Seattle's, to me, is looking like the team most likely to fall out of the playoffs. RUNY is obviously like they look like they're gelling right now. And if that continues, especially when they start having more home games towards the end of the season, that's something to definitely consider. But obviously, them still being the new team, there's always the potential for to see issues that we just haven't seen crop up yet that we're not aware of with certain players. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But like I said, I would agree with you. Seattle could definitely fall out. Probably Glendale. I want to say Houston just because of the massive improvements with the import of Eric Wayans and the much improved defense thanks to Coach Neil Kelly. So yeah, Corey, what do you think?
Well, I'm kind of with you on Glendale and Houston, and then of course looking once again at the games played. Utah has also only played 2 games, so you never know. Something could start clicking for them, and Utah could jump up there as other teams go into bye weeks. So we just don't. I think at this stage, of course, we don't know. Houston and Utah are both 1-1 on the season, and we've got Glendale at 1-2. So it's so early, and we're dealing with a 16, 17-week season here, so we've got a lot more time for people to move around than we did last year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But if you guys are good with that one, I think we can kind of talk through the games coming up this weekend. Sound good?
Yeah.
The weekend starts off on with 2 games on Friday this week, both starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. So that'll be fun. First game up is Toronto visiting the SaberCats of Houston. That's 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus. I'm going to go ahead and say Toronto by 7 on this one. Aaron, what do you think?
So this is really a must-win for the SaberCats. I think it's just for a lot of reasons. Really, a big one is local publicity. You're seeing it. Austin's dragging on getting people to the stand, but they're 0-4. So it's really hard to get behind a team that is 0-4. Houston, if they open this up, they're going to be 1-0 at home, and they're going to be 2-1 on the season, and it'll get them past where they were, I guess, at the end of last season, which is very important. For Toronto, I think they got to win here, except that Brian Ray. I don't care if you're missing 9 players. You either win or you lose, right? I think I'm going. It's really a push. I'm saying Toronto -1. If those props that went off injured against Seattle come back and they're healthy, and Rod Brewer comes back as well, then they've got a chance. The real question is how many people is Kingsley Joins going to call back into Canada's side this week? And also, we'll get to the Seawolves on that as well, because if he calls up more than the 2 players that weren't released back to the Arrows, then it's really in the SaberCats' hands.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with Houston -3. Like we were saying when we were talking about the Toronto game, a lot of Toronto's game up the middle. And Houston's scrum is considered to be one of the best in the league. Also, we have defenders on the outside right now, and both Malachi Esdale, Joshua Vithi, and Zach Pangilina protecting from the backside. I think we're going to be able to shut down the outside attack of the Arrows. Well, I think we're going to be able to keep them moderately contained on the inside. I think this is going to be a pretty low-scoring game, and I think Sam Windsor's boot is going to have a big impact. Whether Malcolm can come through like he did last week with a few good kicks, that can definitely make a big difference. So, like I said, it's going to be a low-scoring affair, but Houston by 3.
Kicking off at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, we have got the Legion at Austin. So we got 2 Texas games this weekend. And that's going to be on Facebook Watch. So, Aaron, what do you got as the line on this one?
I'm going to go conservative because Austin's defense has been pretty good. San Diego by 10. they're gonna get out scrummed. Fly half. Austin's spine is not as gelled as it was last year, and I would say that Seattle's probably, I'm not saying Seattle, but San Diego probably is one of the best spines in the league this year.
Liam, what do you think?
I'm going to go with San Diego -9. Like Aaron said, I think they're going to get out scrummed, but I think San Diego is going to be able to take advantage of a lot of the doors that Austin's going to open them for them once they make a few mistakes towards the end of the second half, which they tend to do. So the kicking game is going to be big in this one. Like I said, San Diego by 9.
And I'm just going to go ahead and say San Diego as well. I'm going to put them by 12. Big number there, but honestly, Austin is down hard, and I don't see that changing this week. So the Saturday match kicks off at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's Glendale at Utah. Liam, why don't you start us off with your prediction?
So obviously Glendale is they have a little bit of momentum coming into this one after their victory last week over Austin. They're going up against another team that's towards the bottom of the barrel right now. One of the, I don't want to say weaker rosters, but again, one of the bottom of the barrel teams. I'm going to go Glendale -10. They're going to create a lot of scoring opportunities just on big splash plays alone, and I think they're going to be able to contain Utah's attempt to get outside.
Aaron?
Man, sorry. Trying to get ahead of this in a different segment that we will talk. When it comes to Glendale, I think what they can do, I'm going to play it safe and say, I'm going to favor them at -5, but it can either get ugly, especially if Gannon Moore and anyone else is pulled into the Eagles squad this week. Tim O'Malley, if they do a few changes to their back line and they can get their scrummaging better at a better level, where it will be an interesting game. But Glendale showed what they could do against Austin. I think they're going to get better, as I talked about a couple weeks ago, and they're going to have less handling errors, and they're just gonna do what they need to do, and they're going to get it done at Zion's Bank Real Salt Lake Academy.
That's a mouthful right there. I wouldn't want to have to type in that URL. I'm going to say Glendale's going to win, but I'm actually going to put a little bit of hope in Utah and say that they're going to give them a fight, and it's going to be a 3-point differential in that one. I think Utah at home is going to be a little tougher than we expect them to be. So we'll see what happens. The final game of the weekend is Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, and that's number 4 visiting number 3, RUNY going to Seattle. This one should be good. I have high hopes for this game being really interesting, a real good, just knockdown, drag out. I'm going to say right now that I think Seattle's going to take it, but it's going to be close. I'm putting Seattle by 3 for my prediction. Aaron, what you got?
Well, it's the ribeye with a loaded baked potato with some Tillamook cheese and some pulled pork on top. Sizzling.
I have nothing but ramen in my kitchen, man. Come on.
I'm going Seattle -2. They're going to have it, the edge at the scrum. It's going to really be a battle of the back lines because I think, you've got a few more dynamic pieces with the Seawolves, but I don't think it's happening. But if Kingsley Jones smartens up and calls up the scrum half he needs and the wing he doesn't deserve in Brock Stoller and Phil Mack, then it gets really interesting. But if the Seawolves are pretty much at full strength, I'm gonna say they eke this one out at home. But like I said, Hall Marsh is a bad man.
Liam, what do you think?
I'm sorry. I was just reading ahead on some of the questions that we have coming up, but I'm gonna go RUNY -6 on this one. I think they're gonna come through with that really good back line of theirs. Seattle might. They're going to be competitive in the scrum, but overall, I think RUNY's going to play the more complete game. I think they're going to control possession a little bit better than Seattle, who has, like we've been saying, has the tendency to commit some penalties in the most backbreaking moments. So yeah, look for New York to win this one, going into 3-0.
Fantastic. Well, I guess we'll see what happens. It's also nice that they're spreading it out over 3 days. Always nice not to have it all bunched up at once, but it'd be nice not to have that double start time on Friday. But hey, I guess you play games when you can play games.
Mm-hmm.
Lest we forget, we also have an ARC match on Saturday night. That is USA versus Brazil, and that's Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern at Dell Diamond in Austin. So, yeah, who wants to start us off with that one?
All right. Well, I've got press availability with Gary Gold tomorrow, so gonna pick his brain and Blaine Scully's brain about what they think about this game and what the work-ons are from Argentina 15. And you know, I'm going to go USA -15. We're going to get it done at the scrum, unlike our friends Les Rouges from the north. And if we do it right, because our back line's just going to be better, it could get ugly for Brazil because we've hung some nasty ones on them. So I expect us to come out hungry and want to make a statement and to be the test side winner of the ARC. We may not end up being the tournament winner, but we will be the full international side that wins the rest of the tournament in dominating fashion.
I'm gonna go with USA -13. I'm mainly just kind of basing this off past games that I've seen between the USA and Brazil. Like our back line, like Aaron said, is looking pretty good. So I'm gonna give us the double-digit win.
And apparently, I'm being the pessimist here, and I'm saying USA is only going to win by 10 on this one. So. I guess we'll see what happens, or we'll read about it afterwards, since it's on Flow and none of us actually subscribe. So,
is Flow still a thing?
Depends on what time of month it is.
I guess it is. I mean, so if you want to watch this game and you're in the United States, it's on Flow Rugby. However, the other ARC games are on ESPN Plus or ESPN3, one of the two or both. If you are outside of this country, you can watch it on the World Rugby website for free. So there you go. That's what we're dealing with. So before the Rugby Channel, before this Flow purchase of the Rugby Channel, the America's Rugby Championship was on ESPN3 3 years ago, before ESPN Plus was really thought about, 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And all you needed for ESPN3 at the time was an internet connection, because all the internet companies did whatever they needed to do, and they paid it for you. And now, well, this, I don't know.
This subpar streaming company is completely holding hostage.
This is what I gotta say is that the production level that is being put into it, whether it's the transfer of another feed into the Flow mainframe, since I know that the The commentators are recording remotely at an ESPN studio. The feed transmission through the Flow server down to you, the end user, is not working. And I know what Flow does for track. And it's like, guys, I know what you can do production-wise. Do that. Because then I'll subscribe. If you give me the production stuff that you do for track and wrestling and the other sports that you guys are known for, then you'll have a rugby product that people want. That's, like I said.
So Aaron would be subscribing.
Yeah, I'd do it. I'd do it.
Man, I'm already subscribed to Fubo, to ESPN Plus, Netflix, Hulu. I can't take another
Fubo fam! Fubo fam!
Fubo, dude, Fubo is dope, man. Like, not only do I watch like every MLR game, I watch every AAF game. I watch The Simpsons, Futurama, Archer, and stuff like that. It's dope. Yeah.
So, Fubo, if you like sports, join the Fubo fam.
Hey, Fubo, sponsor us too.
Yeah, that we just gave you some free ads, so hit us up.
Yep. All right, so we are past 10 o'clock, so I'm thinking we do a lightning round questions from Bob. Let's blow through one or two of these and call it a night. What do you guys say?
Hell yeah, man.
All right, let's go.
Okay, first up, Nurse Shirley T. Are the Eagles really as bad as they looked against Argentina? What is the state of the program after that loss? Liam, go.
I mean, there's always going to be those games where we've been on the upswing lately, so you can't really call us bad, but the loss was definitely concerning.
The loss was bad. Are they as bad as they looked against Argentina 15? No. What is the state of the program? The state of the program is good, great player culture, and the boys are ready to go.
Okay, Bloody Bloodshot wants to know, where do you see MLR as a league in 5 years?
Minimum salaries, more coaches, a lot of collegiate players coming into the game.
Assuming that the Earth is still here and not just a big thing of rubble floating in space, I see it being between 14 and 16 teams with an average salary about $50K per player.
Hey, that'd be nice. Statch 37. Any word on if we're going to get an MLR app?
Yes.
Yes, there is preliminary work being done. A lot of the issue, though, is getting the money to maintain the app over a period of time.
Okay, a couple off Twitter real quick. Trevor McDonnell at Real Blueberry 52. Crawfish, shrimp, catfish, gator, or chicken rugby gumbo. What's your preference?
I guess shrimp, dude. I'm from New England, man. A lot of crawfish, gator, chicken rugby gumbo, that is foreign to me, dude.
So gator and chicken, similar in taste. So let's just go deep south. Crawfish and gator rugby gumbo.
Gator.
Completely sidetrack. I know we're doing lightning, but I had fried crawfish when I was in Texas. It was fantastic.
They like the crawfish down here, dude. Definitely.
Okay. Final question of the night off Twitter. Adrian Thompson at Wardley01. Can we expect that when the right coast Patty Ryan and the left coast Patty Ryan meet up for a match, that they will join into a single super Patty Ryan?
No, you need the other Patty Ryan who plays in Ireland to come, so you have 3 Patty Ryans to form the super Patty Ryan. We're now sub super Patty Ryan.
Which one of them has the Infinity Stone, though? That's the main question.
Since there's 3 of them, I'm feeling like this might be more of a Triforce situation.
Right.
Okay. I think that's it, fellas. Any final thoughts on our way out tonight?
6 Nations on this weekend, so get up early. Sit on your couch on Saturday and watch 6 Nations, ARC, MLR. Friday, you've got 2 matches. So the Austin match is on Facebook. so you can watch that on Saturday also. But it's been a great 4 weeks of Major League Rugby, and get after it.
It's hard to believe that like 25% of a few of the teams in the league of their season has already gone by. Also, I'm starting to say the word mate in normal conversation without any irony, and that's kind of weird. Yeah, I'm just gonna roll with it.
Yeah. And I'll just give a quick shout out. We do have new content coming from our sister pod, NOLA Melee. So they'll have a new episode out this week, and I believe another new episode out next week. So be looking for that for our Spanish-speaking friends. And with that said, on our way out, please note that all opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of the hosts and the guests and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs or practices of Major League Rugby teams or the league. Aaron Castro is employed by Major League Rugby. Liam Madigan-Freed is employed by the West Houston Lions and the Houston SaberCats. Be sure to tune in next week. We're live on YouTube each and every Monday night and available at your favorite podcast platform every Wednesday morning. If you like what we do, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and iTunes feeds. It helps us out. It helps other folks find us. And be sure to share your own news, views, and abuse with us here on or over on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Thank you guys, as always, for listening. We appreciate it. We love you lots. We will catch you next week. And until then, go out and watch some rugby.